Hello everyone, my name is Ben.
And I'm Emma.
And we are your food course service members for Camden City. And today we will be teaching you about the wonderful sweet potato and all of its great nutritional facts. We will also be teaching you how to make a delicious hummus out of sweet potatoes and chickpeas.
So before we get into our sweet potato hummus recipe tutorial, we're going to talk a little bit about why sweet potatoes are so great for our bodies. So Ben, can you tell us something that is really great about sweet potatoes?
Well, sweet potatoes have a lot of fiber, and fiber helps fill you up and make you feel nice and full, and also helps all the nutrients from your food go slower through and get absorbed into the body.
Wow, that's super cool. Do you want to hear something else cool about sweet potatoes?
You know I do.
Okay, so sweet potatoes contain something called beta-carotene.
What's that?
So beta-carotene is a nutrient that is found in orange foods, so also like carrots and oranges.
Carrots.
And sweet potatoes, which we can see are orange on the inside. And what beta-carotene does in our bodies is it turns into something called vitamin A. And vitamin A is very helpful for our eyes. It helps our eyes be able to see better when we're in low light. And it's also great for our immune system. So next we're going to talk about what hummus actually is. So hummus is a recipe traditionally made with chickpeas, which we have in this can right here, a little bit of lemon, some garlic, and the final main ingredient is something called tahini. And Ben, what is tahini?
Tahini is ground up sesame seeds.
Very cool. So we are going to take these main ingredients that are found in our traditional hummus, and we're going to add our own twist with the sweet potato and see if we can get a new tasty combination. All right, so before we get started on this recipe tutorial, Ben and I are going to go wash our hands, and then we will be right back. So while Ben finishes washing his hands, I'm going to go over some of the tools that we're going to need to make this recipe. So first, we are going to need a couple of different measuring implements. We are also going to need some way of blending all of our ingredients together. So I have a blender here, but you can also use an immersion blender or a food processor or anything else you might use to smush things together. And you can even use a mortar and pestle if you have that. We're also going to need a couple different size bowls, a baking sheet, a strainer, and if you don't have a pull top on your can of chickpeas, you'll also need a can opener. I'm going to go check on Ben, and then he's going to tell us all of the ingredients that we're going to need for this recipe. So now that we went over all of the tools that we're going to need for this recipe, Ben is going to explain all of the ingredients that we're going to need for this recipe.
Yes, so we're going to use some cumin, some ground ginger, some powdered garlic. You can also use fresh garlic, some lemon juice. You can use the bottle or a fresh lemon. We're going to use some sweet potatoes that you cut in half, put on a baking sheet in the oven at 415 degrees and roast for 45 minutes. We're also going to use some tahini and some can of chickpeas, but you can also use fresh chickpeas that you boil and cook beforehand. Since we already have our sweet potatoes nice and roasted, the first step is going to be to peel the skins off of our sweet potatoes. Now, since they're cooked, the skins should come off pretty easily. You could do this with your hands. You could also use a spoon to help get it off, but you'll see that it just peels off so easily. again, we're gonna take it, try to save as much of the sweet potato flesh as we can. Just the bowl, and then the skins you can throw away. If you have a composter, you can compost potato skins, or you can eat them if you wanted to.
So now that we have our sweet potatoes baked and peeled, the next step is going to be to open up a can of chickpeas, or like Ben said, you can get dried chickpeas and let those soak overnight. And we want to be very careful when we open cans because the rim of the top can be very sharp. Then we're going to put these through a strainer. Just get most of that liquid out of there. And we want to make sure that we're saving the liquid in the can. And then we're going to dump in these strained ones and these strained ones. And the reason that we left that liquid behind is because we're going to add about 1/4 of a cup of liquid into our blender. And what that's going to do is just help us to be able to get the chickpeas into a very smooth consistency. So now we're going to pop the top on our blender, and we always want to make sure that we are doing this with our grown-ups. And we're being very careful because blenders have very sharp blades inside. So then we're going to turn it on, and we're just going to let it go for a couple of seconds.
Okay, so now we are going to add in our seasonings and spices. So first things first, we're going to add a tablespoon of all of our ground, or a teaspoon of all of our ground spices. So 1 teaspoon of cumin, and you want to shake it out so it's nice and flat on top. A teaspoon of our ground ginger. Again, you want to shake it out so it's nice and flat on top. And then a teaspoon of our garlic powder. If you're using fresh garlic, you want to use 2 cloves of garlic. Nice and flat. Next, you're going to add a tablespoon of our nice and smooth tahina. Always remember to mix up your tahina before use. And a nice tablespoon of that. And then you can use the same one. We're going to add a tablespoon of lemon juice. Make sure to keep an eye out for any seeds or anything else. And that is all of our seasonings for the day.
Now Ben and I are going to do the last step of this recipe together. So we are going to take our sweet potato that Ben peeled earlier and that we had baked for about 45 minutes at 415 degrees in the oven. We are going to add that in here. And then for our final step, we are going to get this all blended up together. Okay, so we don't quite have the consistency that we want yet. So Ben, could you go grab the rest of our chickpea liquid?
I would be happy to.
We can also take a tool to help us mash things in. And both of these things, adding the chickpea liquid and taking this tool to mash it down in here, will help us just get that really smooth consistency that we're going for. So I'm going to add a little bit less than another 1/4 of a cup of our chickpea liquid. Give it another good mash. Oh, and doesn't it look so pretty? It's turning orange.
It looks so delicious and pretty and orange.
Okay, and then we're just gonna give it one more blend and hope that we're at the right consistency. Okay. That's looking pretty good to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so the last thing Ben and I are gonna do is we're gonna give this a taste. So just give us 1 second and we'll be right back and we're gonna try it and tell you how it turned out. So now what we've been waiting for the whole time, Ben and I are going to get to try this delicious hummus. So we scooped a little bit out into a bowl and this is what it looks like. Look at that gorgeous orange color. So you can eat hummus on vegetables, on crackers, you can even put it on pasta or a salad. But we're so confident that this is going to taste great that we're going to eat it straight with a spoon.
Mmm. Delicious.
That's great. Thank you so much for cooking with us today. And we hope you learned a little bit about hummus and sweet potatoes. Bye.
Bye.